everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are?
My name is Peter Serefine.
Okay, and welcome and for joining my show. I would like to dig into your past, leading up into what you do now.
Okay. I won in the Navy straight out of high school. I'm just an average guy from an average family, and I won in the Navy. And now I'm, middle-aged guy who's middle class and just an average guy. There's just really nothing remarkable about me. At least I don't think so.
Well, thank you for your service. How many years did you do in the Navy?
I only did 2 years on active duty and then 8 years in the reserves. And I didn't like the reserves. I didn't like the switching back and forth between civilian life and military life. And I often kick myself for not staying in longer. But it was um, it was at that time when um, Clinton had just gotten elected. Bush was out and Clinton was in, and Clinton immediately started cutting the military, and it got really hard to make rank.
Understood. And I think that they should be feeding more money into the military and cops, but that's just my opinion. Tell me about your book.
Well, the new book, the one it comes out on May 1st, it's called Trust Shattered: Cases of Government Betrayal. As of this morning, I just finished recording the audiobook, and I made it available for pre-sale on what's it called? Smashwords. If you go to Smashwords, like right now, you go to smashwords.com and search for the book. You can actually buy an electronic copy and have it today. And it's the only place you can get it. Any place else you go, it's going to be a pre-order and you'll get it on May 1st. If you
What
want a
what
paper copy, like, paperback or hardcover, the only place you can even pre-order those is trustshattered.com, my own website. What the book is cases of government betrayal. It's a collection of reasons that nobody should ever trust a government at all, including ours. It's about 45 examples, none of which are conspiracy theories. Everything in it is things that the government has outright admitted to. Like, nobody can say, "Well, that's not true." It's Yes, it is. Everything is. It's easily verified, easily fact checked, just bad stuff. And it's like a 30,000-foot view because it's all so easily verified. I didn't spend time putting a whole bunch of detail and tons of footnotes and stuff like that. I wrote this with the hope that if you're on my side of the political aisle and you read this book and you're already skeptical of government, you're going to read it and maybe you learn a thing or two. But then you can take it and hand it to your most progressive friend, family member, coworker. And my hope is that they can read it without getting offended by it. And maybe they don't agree with you afterwards, but they can at least understand where you're coming from. Like, you know, part one of the book is Betrayed Bodies. And it's all about things that our government has done in the realm of healthcare and experimentations with us, we the people.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
if you hand that to somebody who believes in universal health care for everybody and say, okay, really, here, read part one of this book and then let's talk. And it starts out that's that's my goal. So it starts out with um the forced sterilizations of the early 1900s, where people were deemed unworthy or undesirable. That's what they were. They were called undesirable, and they were forced to be sterilized so that they couldn't reproduce. The government tied women's tubes, gave them hysterectomies, whatever they wanted to do, so they could never have children because they were feeble-minded or because they were, I don't know, the wrong color or too poor or whatever the government decided was the deciding factor. They just did it. And then it goes into the Tuskegee syphilis study and the Guatemalan syphilis studies and the San Francisco biological warfare experiments, which is the ones that make me go, oh my God, I still can't believe that they did this. If you don't know about the San Francisco biological warfare experiments, this is where the United States government spread bacteria over the 750,000 people that lived in San Francisco just to see how it would spread.
And And was there a specific organization that did this, or the government? Do you know of a specific organization?
Oh, it was done by different groups. I mean, Operation Sea Spray, which was one of the San Francisco biological warfare experiments, was done by the Navy. Uh, Operation White Coat was run by the Department of Defense. The Department of Ag did some of them. Like there's all different groups
Maybe they
depending on.
have Operation Kimberly Cloud, because I swear, I'm just joking. So dang, tell me more about the chapters, each chapter in the book. You talked about chapter one. Listen, chapter two and three.
All right, so the 45 examples are divided into three categories,
Mhm.
and it's the categories of life, liberty, and property. We've all know those, right? That's John Locke. The immutable characteristics of a free society: life, liberty, and property. So I took all of the examples and divided the book into three parts. Each each example is a chapter, and then the chapters fall into the three parts. And that's betrayed bodies is the first one. So that's everything having to do with life. Um, Betrayed liberties is the second one, and that's anything having to do with your rights, where your government has just taken them away. And then the third part is betrayed estates, and that has to do with our property and how government is attacking our property all the time.
Give an example of how the government is attacking property,
Taxes.
taxes,
If you
inflation.
Inflation's another one. Inflation's a great one because people don't consider it to be as vicious as it is. And it, Milton Friedman said that only government can create inflation because only government can create money. And it's absolutely right. So our government in this country spends 1 to 2 trillion dollars a year more than they bring in taxes. So every year they have to create out of thin air 1 to 2 trillion more dollars. And every time they create more dollars, the dollars that you have in your wallet or bank account are worth less. And they keep doing it year after year after year. I'm just for example, uh, just before the COVID pandemic thingy, I remember I was buying bread at Walmart. Now, like it or not, whatever you think of me, I love the honey wheat bread, the Walmart brand honey wheat bread. It stays fresh longer than any of the other honey wheats. I know it's cheap and it's probably 90% artificial crap. I don't care. I like it. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, it was 88 cents a loaf.
Okay.
That was what, 4 years ago? It's like a buck 89 now. The
Oh my
cost of my
God.
loaf of bread has more than doubled. And why is that? Because the money that I use to buy that loaf of bread isn't worth what it used to be. Inflation isn't just, hey, gas got expensive. Inflation is literally means the money in your pocket is worth less than it was. A great experiment. Just take a piece of paper and write down, 5 or 10 different prices of things that you buy every day or every week. Write down how much you pay for a loaf of bread. Be very specific, a loaf of Wonder Bread, and write down the costs of a few different things, and then put with that much money and put it in a safe and forget about it for a year, and then go back and pull it out and compare. Go buy those same 5 or 10 things and see how much money you're short. That is what real inflation is. The inflation numbers that our government tells us are horribly manipulated. If
Oh,
we calculated inflation today the way that we calculated it back in the 1970s, our inflation rate would be close to 20%. But they don't want to do that. They don't want to tell you that. The government doesn't want to tell you that because then you're going to get mad at them.
tell me about what you think. Well, let's before we get there, let me see what's in chapter three and four, because this is good. This is
All right, so we skipped part two, betrayed liberties, and what I think is really interesting is how quickly our government turned on us in that category.
Yeah.
So the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, was ratified in 1791. The Alien and Sedition Acts in 1798 made it illegal to criticize the federal government. 7 years after the Bill of Rights was ratified, Congress passed a law and President John Adams signed that law, making it illegal to criticize government. Well, what's the First Amendment for then? It says right in the First Amendment, you're allowed to criticize government. You're allowed to address them for redress of grievances. So that caused the difference of then and now is back then when that government did that, it caused a big uproar and all of the people of that party lost power. That was the Federalist Party. They lost at the next election came, they were wiped out. And the Democratic Republicans, Jefferson's party, took over because we, the people, kind of knew what that was. Like we saw it. We knew our rights. We had just gone through this big debate about what our rights are, fought a war, had all the conventions about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Today, we don't know these things anymore. Nobody reads the Constitution anymore.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with everything that I do now. All of my writing, my weekly opinion articles that I write, my 4 books that I've written, all the work that I put into my own website, including online classes on the Constitution. Everything is about educating now. And I want to read to you the quote that inspired me in the beginning of this book. It's a quote from John Jay. John Jay is he was the author of 5 of the Federalist Papers, and he was the first Chief Justice of the United States. So he's a pretty smart guy. He said, "Every member of the state ought diligently to read and study the Constitution of his country and teach the rising generation to be free. By knowing their rights, they will sooner perceive when they are violated and be better prepared to defend and assert them." So I take that quote and that's my driving force now. I want everybody to learn the Constitution. I want everybody to understand that what rights are protected by the Constitution and the purpose of government and what our government is supposed to look like. So that if enough of us learn that, then we can elect people who understand what our government is supposed to look like and bring us back to that structure.
Do you think that Republicans and Democrats in the future, if a Republican comes into office, will be able to join together and stop with the competitiveness of their party? Like, I think that they should join together. I know some of the things get passed by the Democrats and Republicans, but some things, they go with Biden, and I'm not bashing Biden. I know that that's above my pay grade, and the last time I bashed him, some stuff happened. So I'll say, do you think Republicans and Democrats can work together in the future?
Well, the leadership of the Republicans and Democrats work together all the time. They do all kinds of shady backroom deals and pass all kinds of stuff. You look at bills that are passed by Democrats versus bills passed by Republicans, and you really can't tell them apart. It's it really has become somewhat of a uniparty. Like they agree on 80% of the stuff, and they disagree on 20%, and they argue about the 20%. Um, I don't know that they'll ever get along. The division that I don't know. They've just gotten so bad at blaming the other party for everything.
Yes, I see. I
Even
see.
though we, the people out here suffering from it, we can see what really happened. Like The border wall is greater. The immigration crisis is a great example. Regardless of what you think of Trump or Biden, they're the two examples that we have. Trump said that immigration was a problem, wanted to build a wall. He worked deals with other countries. He got the illegal border crossings down to lowest level they've been in a really long time. Guy from the other party comes in using his executive order pen and undoes everything that the previous guy did. And then, big surprise, there's a massive surge of people at the border. What are we up to? Like 8 million people now that they'll admit came across the border. But yet they still blame the first guy. Like the Democrats are still trying to say it's Trump's fault that 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 8 or 10 million people have come across the border under Biden's administration.
What was
And
your
the
input?
problem is that there's a bunch of people out there that are going to fall for it.
What was your input on the Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer video with Trump as president at the time,
Mhm,
telling them we need more wall? And they were like, no. They were like, no. You had to see the video,
mhm,
right? You seen it.
right.
What's your input?
I love the fact that Trump brought the press into that meeting. That
Yes,
that showed a level of transparency we haven't had in government in a really long time. And I
yes.
love the fact that you could see that it clearly made all of the other people in the room uncomfortable. None of them wanted to talk about it there. They all wanted the cameras to be gone so they could do their shady backroom stuff. We need more sunlight in Washington D.C. I want to get them out of your email accounts and my email accounts and my cell phone usage and my GPS. They don't need to know a damn thing about me. But you know what? We elected them, so I should have every right to know every freaking thing there is to know about all of them.
I
And
agree.
it's backwards now. We've got this massive surveillance state where they can, one of the chapters in the book is on the aftermath of January 6th. Ignoring what happened on January 6th, insurrection, riot, party gone bad, whatever. That ignore that. Look at what happened after January 6th. The FBI used cell phone data, GPS data, credit card data, bank record data, airplane data to track down 3,000 people within a couple of weeks. And they didn't have warrants for any of those people.
What happened to the people that almost burned down the White House, the Black
Mhm.
Lives Matter? What
Yeah.
happened to the people that almost burned down the Senate? Like,
Nope.
what happened with that?
They're fighting on the popular side at the moment.
Yeah.
But the point that I point out in the book is they violated like 4 of our constitutionally guaranteed amendments or constitutionally guaranteed rights just to track down these people because their opinions were unpopular. And they can do it to any one of us. And you can't say, well, I'm a progressive, so I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, you do. Because sooner or later the power is going to flip and then they're going to come after you instead of me. Right now they're coming after me. It's
I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
January 6th insurrection. I have reason to believe, which this is above my pay grade again, that there were corrupt people there trying to get innocent people
Mhm.
in on causing this conflict of the government. You have your good parts of the government and you have your bad parts of the government. And it just seemed it seemingly seemed like a setup, but I cannot make that call because I am not a judge or any of that, but I'll say this. I have reason to believe that some things are being protected and
Mhm.
concealed, where some things are just making it seem like it was all Trump's idea. I did not hear out Donald Trump's mouth that he said storm
Mhm.
the White House. He
Yeah.
didn't, or the Capitol or whatever. He was preaching as usual about different things in the speech that he was making, but like they went in the White House and they were just taking pictures. That's all I
Well,
see. You know,
well,
what's your input?
if you really want a lot of information on this, one of my friends runs a website dedicated to this. It's
Mhm.
stophate.com, stophate.com. And he's got more. He was hired as an investigator for several of the detainees. He's got more of the access to video footage than anybody I know. Um, great resource. I didn't put any of that in my book because anything that somebody could point at as a conspiracy theory, I left out.
Understood.
Personally, I think what happened was on one side of the Capitol building, violence broke out. Was it caused by police? Maybe. Was it caused by people in the crowd? Maybe. I don't know. But on one side of the Capitol building, violence broke out. On the other side of the Capitol building, police moved barricades and invited protesters in. But both the ones that were violent and the ones that were invited in non-violent were all arrested. So that's a problem. Like walking through with selfies, walking right past uh, Capitol Police and Metro Police and whatever, walking right past the police who didn't stop them. These people, a lot of these people didn't have any idea that they were doing anything wrong. The police moved the barricades, police invited them in, they walked through the building, right? Some of them walked with the police and they still got arrested. Personally, I think it was a setup. The
I think it was too.
Capitol Police were woefully unprepared for the number of protesters that were going to be there. They can't say that they were surprised because everybody in the country knew that there was going to be over 100,000 people there. They didn't have a wall. They had a handful of police. They were wearing those little bicycle helmets, like it, it was a setup of some kind.
Yeah, because people hate Trump a lot. You
Yeah, they
know,
do.
I voted for him. I'm not gonna lie. I voted for him, and I'll vote for him again. And the reason why is because MAGA. You know, they always use the phrase MAGA, and all he's trying to do is make America great again.
Hmm.
You know, that's his purpose.
But
You know,
you're
go
just
ahead.
one of the MAGA extremists. Why is it extreme to want to make your country great again?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
the other funny part about this is remember what Biden's slogan was?
What?
Build back better. Okay. What's another word for building something? Making it. And back better sounds an awful lot like again.
It's been 4 years, though. It's been
Right.
4 years.
But no,
What
but
has
my
he
point
done?
is, how is make America great again any different from build back better? They both say the same thing, but one of
Yes.
them is violent extremists.
What I want to know is why all of this money is going into Ukraine when we need more police officers. We need more police officers at schools. We need more everything, like better gas prices, inflation to go back down. It's crazy in California. What is your input on that?
I don't think we should be giving a dime to any foreign nation for anything. It's not in the Constitution as something that we're allowed to do. Madison, James Madison, when he was in the House of Representatives, so late 1790s, there was the island of Hispaniola, Haiti. Big hurricane came through or something, and we had some Haitian refugees in America, and Congress wanted to give them money, not a lot, just wanted to give them money. Refugees, help them out. Madison stood on the floor of the Senate or the House, the floor of the House, and said, "I can't find, or I can't put my finger on the article in the Constitution that allows us to spend public money on charity. It's not there. Congress does not have the authority to tax us and give it away." But they do it all the time.
I don't get it. And what's pretty messed up, my heart goes out to Ukraine, but what's pretty messed up is when they're dying because of whatever is going on over there. I can't pinpoint who's the cause, but whatever's going on and they're passing away, those government checks is going back to the government.
Mhm.
They're going back to the government. So this actor of Ukraine, Zelensky, prior actor, should I say, he's getting rich.
Of
He's
course he
getting
is.
richer, and we're getting poor. And our children's children are going to suffer too. Why does America have to suffer?
Because we're, the world's police force for some reason, which we shouldn't be. And the Ukrainian thing is, it's a long battle. Ukraine has been part of Russia, not part of Russia, part of Russia, not part of Russia for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Mhm.
It's so my first gut instinct is that it's basically a civil war, and why are we involved in a civil war? But but then I go back to 1992. And in 1992, when the Soviet Union collapsed, Ukraine all of a sudden becomes its own country and has the third largest stockpile of nuclear weapons on the planet.
Whoa.
And they voluntarily gave up all of those nuclear weapons with a promise that we would protect them in the future. So there's a legit promise there. They had a legitimate reason that we would defend Ukraine because they gave up all of those nuclear weapons. That's legitimate.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now whether or not the war itself is legitimate, I don't know, because like I said, it's basically a civil war that's been going on for thousands of years.
I agree. Um, and then we have schools being broken into,
Mhm.
children getting shot, police officers getting shot in New York, got jumped by a gang of illegal immigrants. Then the cartels is flooding over in the masses. I we already have issues with minorities, with lower class. Not all of them, but lower class. Operating meth labs and stuff. We don't need more like people like illegals, which I'm not anti-Mexican. I'm just anti-illegal immigrants that
Mhm.
are part of the cartel coming over here, making meth labs, killing our children, killing our people. What is your insight on that?
Yeah, I'm anti illegal immigration. I don't care what color or skin tone or race and ethnicity. It doesn't matter. There's a process. There are laws. If your country was so bad that you want to come to America, okay, use the door. That's all we're asking. Use the door.
I
If you're
agree.
swimming across the Rio Grande, you're doing it wrong. You have to go to a port of entry, otherwise you're a criminal. And what a way to start your new residency in your new country by breaking their laws. It doesn't make any sense. Why any country would allow you in at that point? Go to the door. And then we've got places like New York where not only are they putting them up in hotels, but giving them food, and now they're going to start giving them like prepaid Visa cards and stuff. To put this in, think about this, Kimberly, if I come and break into your house, are you going to let me stay and feed me and give me money? No, you're going to freaking shoot me. Am I saying shoot the illegals? No. But I'm pointing out that use the door. If I come to the door and I ring the bell and I say, Kimberly, I'm down on my luck. Can I have something to eat? You might give me something. If I break in a window and I crawl in and then demand food, that's what's going on. We, some of these places have just lost all common sense.
I don't understand why Kamala Harris or Biden keep ignoring this, and that's why Ron DeSantis was shipping them over. Even Texas is thinking about or has built a wall, and then I think about, well, what's going to happen in the future? If this start lacking again, if we do build a wall and then maybe 25 years down the road, like we start lacking with homeland security, there could be bombings where they bomb down the wall and
Mhm.
then try to crawl over it. We need stability at that wall.
We need stability in everything in our government.
Yes.
Um, for one thing, there's nothing in the Constitution that says that the federal government is responsible for border security. The federal government the Congress has the power, according to the Constitution, to uh, they have the power over naturalization, so becoming a citizen. There's nothing in there that forbids a state from defending its own border. There's nothing in there that says that the federal government can't. It should be a joint effort between the federal government and the state if we're going to go back to the Constitution the way it was written. The problem that we have with government today is that, you know, the Constitution that you and I know, this little tiny thing that's, 4,500 words that we could sit down and read it in 20 minutes. This isn't the Constitution that the federal government goes by anymore. The federal government now goes by this Constitution that's thousands of pages long. They call it the abridged version. It is all of the Supreme Court cases ever decided about any constitutional issue, all jammed together in this giant book. That's a 240-year game of telephone. You got 4,500 words written in plain English that anybody can understand. Why am I worrying about what this judge said about what that judge said about what that judge said about what that judge said about? Because you take any issue you want, the Supreme Court has reversed itself repeatedly. And sometimes they make just bad decisions. We, the people, should be the ultimate arbitrators of what the Constitution means. It was written for us. That's why it starts with the words, we the people. We've now delegated interpreting the Constitution over to these Supreme Court justices. Shortly after the Civil War,
Mm.
all right, during the Civil War, Lincoln printed money with greenbacks on it, right? The greenback that we know today. Money didn't have greenbacks back then. He printed money with greenbacks on it. He illegally printed more money than we had gold for. He was knowingly breaking the law when he did it. He did it with the greenbacks so that after the war, he could pull all of that money out of the economy. He could pull it all back and throw it away, and we'd be back to normal. After the war, Congress passed a law said that you had to accept this greenback currency as legal tender. And the Supreme Court said, you can't do that. The Supreme Court struck down that law and said that Congress does not have the authority to reach into a private business and tell them what they can or cannot take for tender, for currency. 7 months later, they reversed that decision and said, nope, if the government wants to make you take this scrap of paper for money, they can make you take that scrap of paper for money. 7 months. What changed? That
You know,
that little thing right there should tell us that they're flawed.
yeah.
And then you flash forward to today. Now you got all kinds of businesses out there, especially in cities. They're like, we don't take cash. We don't accept cash. You have to use a card. Wait a minute. 200 years ago, you forced business owners to take this worthless piece of paper as money. And today, you're allowing business owners to say, no, I don't want that worthless piece of paper. You have to use this credit card thing. They don't jive. They pick and choose what they want to enforce and what they interpret or don't interpret.
Congress, right? If you wanted to change a law, can a civilian citizen change a law if they write the Congress?
Congress has to vote on it, technically.
How
Um,
do that get started?
it there's lots of ways to do it. The best
Mhm.
thing to do is to work up from your local government. You work up because The way our system was structured, the local government is supposed to be the most powerful. It's supposed to go local, then county, then state, then federal, and the federal is supposed to be a little tiny thing up there. Um, there's a thing called interposition, and then there's nullification. Interposition is when one level of government interposes between another level of government and you. So, for example, let's say that you've got this great constitutional sheriff who has come out and said, no, the ATF, you cannot come into my county and you cannot enforce your unconstitutional gun laws in my county. What that sheriff is doing is called an interposition. They're putting themselves in the way. The other one is nullification. If a state says, you know what, that gun law that the ATF has passed is unconstitutional, we're not going to enforce it in our state. They're basically saying that that law is null and void within their state. The concept of nullification has been used a couple of times in history. It is not used often enough, in my opinion. There's way more federal departments, agencies, and offices than there are powers granted to the federal government. So there should be a lot of nullification involved. I mean, one of my favorite things is, you open up the Constitution. Article 1 sounds important.
Mhm.
Section 1, Clause 1, the first freaking thing that's in the Constitution is all legislative power shall be vested in a Congress. All, pretty important word, right? All legislative power. That means all power to make law is vested in Congress. Then explain to me regulatory agencies that create administrative law. Thousands upon thousands of administrative laws. Congress delegated that power, unconstitutionally, in my opinion, to these three-letter agencies. And the Supreme Court just went along with it. They shouldn't have. We, the people, shouldn't have gone along with it. The first time they did it, we, the people, should have said, no, 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 no. I didn't elect that guy. He can't make laws.
I have two names for you, and I wanted to know your insight on both these lovely ladies. You have Kimberly Guilford, and you have Marjorie Taylor Greene. Tell me a little bit about your insight on these wonderful, powerful women.
I don't really have any insight on them. I try not to pay that close of attention to what's going on today
Mhm.
because I don't want to end up with a blood pressure problem. um, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I can't remember who Kimberly Guilford is right
She's
now.
Donald Trump Jr.'s wife or girlfriend, I believe.
Okay.
She does
Um,
a show called the Kimberly Guilford Show
yeah, I
on
don't
Raw.
know her. I don't know her, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, she says some good stuff. She says some things that I think is it goes a little too far. But I can say that about a lot of them. Like Matt Gaetz, I think he says some good stuff, but he's not. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz, they're not going to get anywhere as long as it's those two or two or four or five of them. If we want to return to the constitutional government that we were granted by our fathers, the one that created the United States as a great nation, if we want to get back to that form of government, we, the people, need to learn the Constitution and we need to elect 535 people that understand what the Constitution is and what restrictions it places on government. 5 people isn't enough.
And you said you teach people the Constitution, right?
I have the Liberty Lighthouse Classroom. So my homepage is liberty-lighthouse.com, liberty-lighthouse.com. You go there, you click Classroom. There's about 18 hours worth of courses in there. I'm building more. I kind of put it on hold for a little bit while I was writing this last book, and now doing all the promotion for Trust Shattered. Um, but there's about 18 hours of courses in there. All of them are courses from Institute on the Constitution, uh, and I'm going to put in my own courses. I'm hoping to add Patriot Academy courses and maybe some stuff from Hillsdale College. But right now, it's all Institute on the Constitution courses, 18 hours worth. You can go in, you can pay for one course, or you can be a member, a Lighthouse Lightkeeper, and you can take them all. And like I said, they're going more are going to keep coming. Um,
You have your own magazine too, right? Because some people join.
I uh, I do a Substack.
Mhm.
I do a Substack every week, every Wednesday morning. I write an opinion piece this week that it came out this morning. It was about 1913 and the four things that happened in 1913 that started sending our government off a cliff. And I forget what next week's is, but it's already there. And that's also called Liberty Lighthouse. Liberty Lighthouse is kind of my brand. That's the publishing mark inside of my books too. Is Liberty Lighthouse. So yeah,
Where do
the
where do you see yourself going in the future with these books and magazines and classes? Tell me about that.
I don't know. I started this whole process like 5 years ago. Until a couple of months ago, I also did a radio show, and I gave up the radio show um,
Oh,
because I was doing too many things at once,
true, true.
and I wasn't sure what to give up. And the radio network that I was on, they kind of changed their schedule around, and I lost my slot. And I'm like, hey, look, there's the sign. This is the thing I should give up. Um, so I focus on writing now. I would really like to eventually get to a point where I get to speak on the Constitution in public settings. Get invited to groups and conventions and things like that and speak. Um, I'm going to keep working on the classes. It's it's really important to me. I think that um, it's our only hope is returning to a constitutional governance.
You know, you're a well known author, and I don't know if you know about TEDx, but it's free to sign
Mhm.
up, and you must know how to write very thoroughly. And it's free to sign up, and they have different places you can go speak and different ways to get into their program, but it's free.
I didn't
So,
know it was free. I've heard
yeah,
of it, but I didn't know it was free.
and if you pay for it, they can help boost you to the front, put you in the front. Those are the paid advertisements that you see on Facebook. But you sign up, you give a statement of why you want to be a TEDx speaker, and it's all free. You don't have to pay nothing. No credit card needed.
I like that. I don't like credit.
Yeah. Okay. Tell the people once again how to reach you.
My homepage is the easiest thing. It's liberty-lighthouse.com. But the new book, Trust Shattered, it has its own website. It's trustshattered.com, and it's pre-order. It comes out on May 1st. And if you go to trustshattered.com and you pre-order a physical copy, a paper copy, paperback or hardcover, either one, for one, I'll sign it for you before I send it out. And for two, I have indexed copies of the U.S. Constitution. I've got like 10 of them left, and I'm sending those out with them too. So these are neat little tools. You can go to the back of the index and say, um, searches and seizures shall not be violated. And then, oh, look, that's, Article 1, Section, it tells you where it is. It's a handy little tool.
Yes,
And
everybody should know the Constitution. We say in
I
America.
agree. So,
Yeah. It's
uh,
been awesome. It's been awesome having you as a guest. You all, thank you for chiming in on my show. Stay on the line, Peter, for a second.
sure.
Y'all take care, be safe, and I'll see y'all another time. Bye.